Hello again and welcome back to Scott Reviews Things. Hope you're all keeping really well. It's a Thursday, doesn't matter in the great scheme of things. About a year ago, something happened in this country. It's been going on for a damn sight longer than a year ago, but it showed the power of the media. And it showed the power of people. So, over the weekend, I finally got around to watching Mr. Bates versus the Post Office and the incredible story of Alan Bates and all the other sub-postmasters that were wrongly prosecuted, victimised, persecuted. Some of them were locked up, some of them took their own lives. Just an incredible display of, well, let's be honest, downright lies and dishonesty where it comes to the post office. And people were having to remortgage their houses. Some lost everything they owned. They were taking loans out from borrowing money off their parents. And it got called, quite rightly, the biggest scandal in probably modern history, I would think. But what if I was to tell you there's another one? I think it was 900 sub-postmasters and post office workers were involved, somewhere in that region, with what went on. What if I tell you there's something equally as big, if not bigger, that affects an even greater amount of people? That's ultimately responsible, provably, for 1,000. And let that number sink in. 1,000, 100 hundreds, 1,000 male suicides each and every year. Called the Child Maintenance Service. And what stands out for me from last year, so we're around a year on now from Mr. Bates versus the Post Office. And the power that media, social media, the mainstream media have in this country. Because without, I think it was it ITV? ITV sharing and making this dramatisation of what happened to these people, it'd probably still be going on now in one way, shape or form. And I know I was reading today actually that the compensation is still an ongoing thing, which is just incredible to me, absolutely incredible to me. But it shows what can be done when the powers that be are pushed in that right direction. What I don't understand is, although it was touched upon briefly by GB News, January, February time, 2024, no mainstream media will touch or get involved in the absolute calamitous shit show that is the Child Maintenance Service, which is ruining not just men, predominantly men, the what do they like to call us? Deadbeat dads. The deadbeat dads. The most hateful term for me in the English language. deadbeat dads. So when a relationship breaks up for whatever reason, and even if you do come to an amicable sort of agreement on childcare, and when the CSA, as were, created by Maggie Thatcher when she brought it in, now the Child Maintenance Service, the CMS, when they get involved, it just becomes an absolute shit show. So what I'm going to try and do is I'm going to try and mobilise. I'm going to try and get your stories. So I want your stories, because if the mainstream media won't touch this, are they scared? Are they frightened? What are they frightened of? Why is the Child Maintenance Service so powerful? Have all-encompassing powers that are actually against what our country stands for. So my ex-wife told the Child Maintenance Service I hadn't paid a penny. That was a lie, provable. And it took me weeks and weeks, because they were going to do a deductions of earnings order because of her lies, which I proved were wrong. But that doesn't matter to the Child Maintenance Service. It doesn't matter if I'm right, does it? They don't give a shit if I'm right. They're not going to believe me. They just want the money. And then they put you on collect and pay, and that's like another absolute scandal. So as the paying parent, I have to pay, well, I had to, I'm not on collect and pay anymore, but on the collect and pay service, they take money out of your account, so from me to pay to her. For that absolute fucking privilege, they could charge me 20%. And you think, well, this is a fair world, Scott. Surely she's paying 20% as well. No, 4%. So how's that fair? It's not. There's no fairness in the Child Maintenance Service. And generally, because I am a male with a cock and balls, I mean fucking nothing to them. They want me dead. Might as well be dead. Because and don't get me started on court orders. Court order means nothing to the Child Maintenance Service. If I have a court order, doesn't matter. Might as well not even be written. Because what they do is they reward criminals. So if a resident parent ignores the court order, well, it doesn't matter. We'll ask for more money for them, because the child's not seeing the non-resident parent under coercion, under child abuse, because that's what it is. It's child abuse, and it's an absolutely criminal service. So I pay £340 something a month now for a son I haven't seen for 4 years, because his mum poisoned his mind, provably as well. So she sees this and don't give a shit, to be fair. Poisoned his mind. Just incredible, abusive tactics. So I want your stories. I want your stories of your involvement. There's a few Facebook groups I read daily, but I want your stories. Let's try. And I know there are decent people out there that are trying to get this out into the real world. But 1,000 deaths a year on arrears that have already been said don't exist. The National Audit Office won't sign off the CMS's books because they're not true representation of what is factually correct. Fictitious arrears, sometimes in the thousands. Ian Briggs tells a wonderful story of his son, Gavin Briggs. There are so many stories out there, and I'd like yours. I'd like, if you contact me, I'd like you to give me the permission to tell your story, because the more stories we get out there on any platform that we can, it gives us more of a chance to say, hey, what are you doing about this? Why are 1,000 people a year dying for a government body? Because it's not right, and it needs to stop. It needs to stop now. So let's see what we can do. Scott reviews things. Scott's big mouth. Get in contact with me. You can leave a comment. You can send me a message on Instagram. Scott reviews things. You can send me an email. scottandwanda@yahoo.com. Any way you want to get in contact with me, please do. Let's see And then when I've done, when I've got enough comments in, what's it today? It's the 23rd of January. This will be out by the end of the week. I'll give it to the end of February, beginning of March, collate all the stories, and I'll read them out. And let's hope we've got a few. Let's hope we've got some stuff that's going to hit home to people what is actually going on with this absolute abortion of a fucking company that are destroying people's lives. And they don't care if you're destitute. They don't care if you've got means and ways to pay. All they want is their money. They don't means check the resident parent, generally the mum. They don't care how much money they're bringing in. All they want to do is take it from the non-resident parent, invariably the dad. And I'm well aware, and I'd love stories where it's the other way round. I'm not saying this is all one way, but 80% is probably the non-resident parent being the dad and the resident parent being the mum, because the family court in this country is fucking corrupt. So I want your stories. ScottWander@yahoo.com. Scott reviews things on Facebook and Instagram. Send them over. Let's see if we can get somebody to take notice. Get somebody to take notice of your stories, your real life stories, because this is bigger than the post office. And that's no, I don't mean that as a detrimental slate on the post office. I sat and watched the Alan Bates thing in tears the other night, because it's an absolute scandal, and this scandal is just as big. So let's see what we can do about it. Please send your stories in. Let's see what we can do. Let's see if we can mobilise and get a movement going, because something needs to be done about this. And 1,000, one death a year is too many. 1,000, that's a scandal.